So I think for me, the main thing I looked in a program was a program that really had a feeling of a community or a family within itself. And during my time in Ottawa, both as a medical student and as a visiting elective medical student, I really saw that in this program.
What initially attracted me to uOttawa was the size of the program. I wanted to be somewhere big enough that you got to see the full spectrum of care, but also small enough that I wouldn't be walking into an OR in the final year of my training and never have worked with that attending or surgical team before.
But Ottawa had actually started their own CBD program a couple of years beforehand. And so that kind of stood out to me because it really showed a lot of initiative that the residency program had staff and personnel who were really devoted to teaching their residents.
I think one of the biggest things about Ottawa that stood out is their simulation program, how they're able to incorporate it very early into your training. And what I've noticed is it's really impacted my ability to care for patients, both when I'm on anesthesia, but also how I'm able to handle myself in crisis management down in the trauma bay as well as in ICU.
Along with being a great educational place to train, I think what really stood out to me was the relationships that the staff seemed to have with the residents and with each other, and how inviting it was to see that as a learner, and how much it made me really want to be a part of that.
When I came for my interview, it was very, very welcoming. I could see myself working alongside the people that interviewed me, as well as the residents that I met. And so it really felt like it would be a good match.
My favourite thing about the Ottawa Anesthesia Residency Programme is probably the collegiality of all the residents. I think we have a great group of residents. I think we have just the right number.
My favourite part of the residency program was boot camp and participating in simulation with my co-residents every week.
So my favorite thing would be, I guess, the working conditions and working environment. I find that the most positive thing is how staff are very supportive and work with you a lot like a colleague.
We really have some fantastic people who not only make the education aspect super fruitful, but they also make sure that the way that you learn and the way that you do anesthesia here is really fun. And
I think the reputation for putting residents first and making sure training and teaching comes first is very prevalent, and since coming through the program, I know that that is definitely the case. I just got a very good feeling about the program when I came for my interview, and I just felt that this was the right place for me. I felt very at home, and everybody was very welcoming and encouraging.
They did a pretty impressive job of that, actually. They checked in very frequently. I found that staff in particular took the time to break down that barrier between early learner, PGY1, and the existing experienced staff.
I would say that the transition into residency felt very smooth. Obviously it was pre-COVID time, so there was a lot less to worry about, but it felt very natural going into the ORs, working with staff who every day were very comfortable with the fact that I was really not going to be able to do everything on my own, and feeling supported, especially in those first few months, to just learn the basics and get good at the basic skills of anesthesia and just being a physician.
Our program is laid out quite nicely in the sense that we will do all the subspecialties as a junior resident, and then you do them again as a senior resident. And the requirements for each of these blocks differ based on your level of training. And so it's nice to be able to get that exposure as a junior resident, and then you build on what you learned there to try to become a bit more independent when you're a senior.
Having 2 chances at each specialty rotation, for example, 2 chances at thoracics, 2 chances at regional, really helps you establish whether that's exactly what you want to go in, maybe as a fellowship or maybe just something you want to pursue in a community practice. So I think having that spiral curriculum is something that's really helped me.
We have many lovely subspecialty staff, and so each of those rotations will touch base with the staff. They have certain objectives that they have laid out. They have certain learning plans that we need to obtain, and so you really feel like you get a good grasp of what that subspecialty has to offer.
We obviously have a very good track record at the Royal College exam level, but specifically why is important, and I think it's because the number of opportunities that we have in order to be exposed to the exam type of material. For example, starting in PGY1 in Tuesday morning rounds, we do oral cases, and while you won't be able to answer the entire question as a PGY1, you'll certainly be able to contribute what your knowledge base is, and then the more senior residents will fill in gaps and answer the complete question after that.
Ottawa is the home of the Royal College, so our department is really lucky in that we have lots of current and past Royal College examiners. This means that when you get Royal College questions or you get exam prep, it comes from people who they're very in tune with the style of questions that we're going to be getting.
So by the time I came into PGY4, which is my final year now, I've actually felt like I was already ahead in many ways in covering some of the important material for the Royal College exam. And having things like mock orals along the way has really helped make me more comfortable answering oral exam questions, and having tons of staff available to do all that practice with me has also really improved my comfort in doing these exponentially in the last few months and weeks.
Our program is really supportive of ensuring that you get all the exposure to the different subspecialties in anesthesia that you need, so that when you're faced with a royal exam question, it's not just a theoretical situation. You've had the clinical exposure that you've seen a lot of these scenarios. Really what I think that does is it creates a longitudinal preparation for the Royal College, where it's something that we're familiarizing ourselves on early on. So it's a preparation that occurs over 5 years, not just towards the end of your training, and to me that's a really big strength within the program.
The anesthesia program helped prepare me for my career by giving me early exposure to the subspecialty which I would eventually pursue.
So since finishing in June, I've done a locum in tiny rural Ontario, up north in Kapuskasing, where I was the only anesthesiologist in town for 2 weeks, and I've also worked at a major academic centre in downtown Vancouver, and I feel that the uOttawa program was able to prepare me for both these things and everything in between.
My favorite part about living in Ottawa was easy access to open and usable green space all throughout the year.
I'm not going to have a short answer for that one.
I grew up in Ottawa and I've always really liked living here. It's really a small town feel within a big metropolitan city. With that, we have a world-class National Arts Centre, we have tons of museums and galleries, we have concerts, all sorts of things, obviously once COVID's over, that are available to do that are very urban-based. But half an hour away you have Gatineau Park. It's a winter paradise for skiing and snowshoeing and all sorts of activities, and in the summer it's one of the best places to go ride your bike, probably in the country.
Absolute best thing from the start has been my cohort of residents and the residents that were both in the years above and below me. I think part of the program structure really fosters closeness amongst the residents in your year because of the foundations training that we get in the first couple of months, where we spend several days a week together. We do simulations together every Friday, and there are lots of social events planned throughout the year to help get people together. So just starting residency off with that group of friends has really helped along the way. I'm now in my third year, and I would say I still could pick up the phone and call anyone in my year anytime if I wanted to talk. And that is really, really special to me. Whenever we were making call schedules, we always run into issues with people who may become sick or changes that need to happen since COVID has begun. And the amount of times that we've kind of put out little SOSs, we need somebody to help cover a call shift, we're always able to find someone to step up and help each other out.
I think one of the big benefits of Ottawa is the close-knit resident community. You get to know your fellow residents in your year really well in first year with our simulation training and the 13 weeks that you're really together. We have multiple events throughout the year to try to help you get together with residents from different years. We have our annual wellness retreat, which is a great time for you to spend with other residents. So I think just the diversity that comes to Ottawa helps you find people that you can always connect with.